Welcome to Whiskey's Journey. My name is Peter Fossano. Today is the first Friday flight fight of October. If you're new here and you don't know what's going on, I take a distillery the first Friday of every month, and I kind of go through a selection of their shelf products that they have. Today, we're doing 1792. This one was a long time in the making. I was waiting for the sweet wheat to come available, and then the cognac cask came out, so I was waiting for that to become available. I got everything, so with the exception of the 12-year. So I'm going to mix these things up, and as I'm doing this, just to let you know, since it is the first Friday in October, I am starting my October giveaway. So if you're interested in supporting the channel, all of the rules to the giveaway are in the description below. If you are interested in supporting the channel, you can do $5 donations. Every donation of $5 will get you one entry into the giveaway. And if you end up winning the giveaway, what will happen is you get to choose 12 2-ounce samples. Sorry, take that back. 6 2-ounce samples of anything that I reviewed in the month of October. Plus, this flight will automatically get included into the giveaway. And I have a bunch of bottles in my collection that I've already reviewed. They sit on the shelf. They're just taking up space. And I'll be in contact with you if you win, and I'll throw in a bottle as well. So it's $5 to get 12 2-ounce samples plus a bottle. If you're interested in supporting the channel, there you go. Again, all the rules are in the description. I'm leaving the lids on these just because of the cognac cask and the sweet wheat. I think my nose would get a little bit overwhelmed with it. So I'm going to leave the caps on. I'm going to nose them all, give you some notes, taste them all, and then rank them in the order in which I like them the most. So let's go ahead and start with glass number 1 on my right. And I have them all marked on the bottom. All of the bottles are down here, and I will flash up the bottle as I taste them, not nose them, but as they taste them, I'll flash the bottle up with the information and the price that I paid in Phoenix, Arizona. All right, this is straight up vanilla, a little bit of banana, caramel, and oak. I mean, it smells exactly like what I would think a traditional bourbon would smell like. I don't think any of these, other than the foolproof, are very high in ABV. I think that one will be very apparent once I taste it. But on the nose, I mean, it's your typical bourbon. I like that quite a bit. Let me get those notes down, and then we'll move on to glass number 2. All right, glass number 2. Not as strong as glass number 1. Doesn't seem to be jumping out of the glass. It's very muted. I think a lot of the same notes are there. I get a very faint banana note, along with light caramel and light vanilla. Yeah, not a whole lot to this one at all. So let me get that down and move on to glass number 3. All right, glass number 3. Well, I tell you what, that banana note, I think that's something that I might typically get with Barton 1792. Barton 1792. It's Barton, Jack Daniels, and Old Forester. I think those 3 give me a banana note. But I tell you what, this one is falling somewhere in the middle of glass number 1 and 2. By far, glass number 1 was the most vibrant with the more typical bourbon notes. And there was almost nothing in glass number 2. And glass number 3 is right in the middle of those 2. Caramel, vanilla, banana, brown sugar, typical bourbon. All right, glass number 4. Glass number 4 smells really dusty. Does not come across as banana, brown sugar, and vanilla. It has a very dusty cardboard kind of note. Okay, on that next nosing, there's a little bit more of a bourbon note there. I really didn't think these would be that different from one another, so I'm not surprised that they're all kind of just basic bourbon notes. I said this in my benchmark video. The benchmark lineup, I think, for the value, offers quite a bit. And then the next tier below that, I think 1792 comes as a pretty value-ish kind of bottle. And they offer, I think, just as much as the benchmarks, because they have the bonded, they have a bottle and bond, they have the single barrel, they have full proof, and then the only difference is the cognac finish and the sweet wheat with the 1792, as opposed to the top floor and what was the other one? The top floor and I can't remember. When you get old, your mind starts to drift. So glass number 4 does have a little bit more of an ethanol vapor than the other 3, but I think all the other classic bourbon notes are there, along with that dusty cardboard note. So let me get that written down and then move on to glass number 5. All right, glass number 5. Very sweet. Low spice, very sweet. This definitely comes across on the nose as the sweetest. Fruit forward, a little bit of spice, but I'm not getting a tremendous amount of brown sugar, vanilla, and caramel. And the banana note is definitely not there at all. Actually, I think I prefer the nose on glass number 5 out of any of them. So let me get that down and then go to glass number 6. All right, last one, and we'll get to tasting. So if you are, this one, holy cow, has a tremendous amount of banana. If you're new to the channel and you end up liking this information, if you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel. Just go ahead and click on that little button down there. Turn that bell notification on, because I produce videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And while you're at it, if you know somebody that is interested in this kind of stuff, go ahead and share this video with them. Yeah, this one comes across as the most banana, and it's even sweeter than glass number 5. But other than that, all those typical notes are there. All right, let me get that down and then move on to tasting. All right, let's get on to glass number 1. If you have had 1792, let me know in the comments down below which one you like the most. If you see these, they go in waves in Phoenix. Sometimes I'll see them all the time. Single barrels, full proof. Sometimes there'll be a single barrel pick or a full proof pick or bottle and bond pick. But they go in waves. Sometimes I'll see them all the time, and then they'll disappear on, for months. If that's your case, let me know in the comments down below. All right, let's go ahead and get glass number 1 on the palate. Well, that is quite nice. All of those notes that I was getting on the nose are definitely coming through on the palate. It is as basic as you can get from a bourbon. Vanilla, caramel, brown sugar, nothing is up over the top. That banana note is there, but it's just an accent, and the proof is pretty nice. That's delicious. If the rest of them are like this, I'm going to be in store for a very difficult decision on what to choose, because that was good. I mean, and not mind-blowing, but it was good. So let me get that written down, get a glass of water, rinse, and move on to number 2. Man, I tell you what, glass number 1 was really good. All right, let's go ahead and get glass number 2 down the hatch. All right, well, that is very bland compared to glass number 1. It's very soft. It doesn't really have a whole lot of complexity. It's a little bit bitter. There is a little bit of like an aftertaste that I'm not too fond of. It is sweet. It has a very small amount of spice, and it just comes across as very thin on the palate. So glass number 1 definitely is much better than a glass number 2. Let me get that down. Move to glass number 3. All right, glass number 2 did not have a good finish at all. So hopefully glass 3 will get us back on track. All right, well, I think I found the full proof. That is glass number 1 on steroids. Everything that I was getting from glass number 1 is also in glass number 3, but that ethanol is really, it's warming my chest up. It's lighting my mouth on fire. I've got a very effervescent feeling happening. Actually, it's not effervescent. The inside of my mouth is numb, but there's a chocolate note. There's a cola note. The flavor on this one, and I'm guessing it's got to be the full proof because it's hot. The flavors are pretty good. Chocolate, tobacco, cola, brown sugar, caramel, vanilla. And you know what's missing is the banana note. I get it on the nose, but on the palate, it's not there. My mouth is numb. I need to write those notes down, get a rinse of water, let it calm down, and move on. Like, yeah, all inside my lips are just numb. All right, so the finish on glass number 3 was also really good. It was nice and long. So actually, as I was writing this down, here's another thing that I kind of want to ask everybody. When you're tasting the whiskey to actually taste it, what do you do with it? When you put it in your mouth and you take a sip, are you taking a sip like a very small amount, letting it just hit like the center of your tongue? Are you chewing it, swishing it? Are you mixing it around? Or are you just letting it hit your tongue as much as you can and then swallow it? Very, very interested. I cut a lot of the stuff out, but when I take a sip of it, I hold it in my mouth and then kind of move my tongue around. I don't know if I necessarily swish it around, but I do move it around. If it starts to burn, I immediately start to swallow it. But if it just sits there and it doesn't give me like a burn like this one did, I'll let it sit there for a little bit. And then once I swallow it, I'll like take a breath and see if oxygen does anything to it, and then kind of sit there for a little bit. And once this burned and I swallowed it, the finish on there is where this one really shined. It was really nice. So glass number 4. Here we go. Yeah, leave a comment down below on what you guys do when you taste a whiskey. Not when you drink it, but just when you taste it. When you're going in for the first time and you really want to analyze it, what do you do with it? Let me know. All right, glass number 4. All right, of all of them so far, the most oak is coming out of glass number 4. There is definitely a banana, a vanilla, a caramel, a little bit of chocolate, and there is, on that finish, it's rather bitter. I don't particularly care for the finish on that one. Let me write those notes down for this one. Get a rinse of water. I do need to feel my mouth, so I'm going to let my palate calm down a little bit before I taste the next 2. All right, moving on to glass number 5. That bitter note that I was getting in glass number 4 just kept going. I'm going to have to go back to that one as well. So glass number 5. All right, glass number 5 is good, but there's really not much to it. It is definitely the thinnest of all of them so far, but it has a really good basic bourbon flavor, just like I got from glass number 1, but the viscosity on this one is much less. It washes over the tongue with good flavor, but it doesn't last, doesn't stick around, but it's still pretty good. All right, we got one left to taste. Let me get that written down and then go on to number 6. All right, last one. Yeah, this one I wrote down, it had the most banana and it was the sweetest on the nose. All right, number 6. All right, pouring these blind, but knowing what's in the flight, I have an idea of what this one is. It is the most different from all of them, and I definitely think there is a finish with this one. It comes across as very sweet, very low on the banana based on what I was getting on the nose, but it's fruit forward. There's cola notes. There's a little bit of spice. There is like an oaky bitterness, like sinking in underneath the tongue. The effervescence that I was getting from glass number 3 is also here. It is a little bit numbing. It's a little bit drying, but I like what it's doing. I like what it's doing in my mouth. It's good. So what I'm going to have to do here is go back to 1, 3, and 6. I already think I have an idea of what 2, 4, and 5 are going to be, or where they're going to rank. So let me retaste these, and I'll be right back with my order. All right, I am ready. So I'm just going to go through my last place to my first place. In last place, glass number 2. There really wasn't much to this one. There's not a whole lot of depth. It is sweet, but it's very basic, and it just falls off a cliff with the tasting notes. And to be quite honest, it was very thin, and it just did not sit well with me in comparison to all these others. So glass number 2 is going to be in my 6th place. 5th place, I put glass number 4, And glass number 4, I said it was a little dusty, and it had a bitter finish that just continued to get more and more bitter as we went. But the reason why I put this over glass number 2 was because there was flavor. It was just the finish that knocked it down to 5th place. In my 4th place, right next to it, I put glass number 5. It's a very basic tasting bourbon. There is nothing spectacular about it, and there's nothing bad about it. It is the middle of the road. Viscosity is low. Proof seems to be pretty low, but it is exactly what you think a bourbon would be. Vanilla, brown sugar, caramel. That's pretty much it. It's a no thrills type of pour, and it's in 4th place. In 3rd place, right next to it. So I had to go back and forth between glass 1, 3, and 6. I put glass number 6 in 3rd place because the bitter note that came out of this was also showing up in glass 6, and the finish kind of deterred me from putting it higher than glass number 2, 3, glass number 3. The bitterness, the sweetness, the finish, the flavor was good. It just did not pack the punch that glass number 1 or 3 had. It's fruity. It was sweet, had a little bit of a chocolate and tobacco note to it. Again, I have an idea of what this one is because this one really does feel and taste like it's finished, and I don't think any of the others are finished. So this, to me, tasted like the cognac just because there was like so much going on that was so much different than all of the others. I just couldn't get past the bitter note to push it past glass number 3. Glass number 3 I put in 2nd place. It was just like glass number 1, but on steroids, and that burn that I was getting today was just a little bit too much. And all around, glass number 1 was the best balanced. It had the most depth of flavor. It seemed to be rich. The finish went on for a long time. It coated every part of the mouth. It didn't numb the inside of my mouth. It was something that I enjoyed quite a bit in comparison to all of these others. So that's where I'm at with my place. Let's go ahead and figure out what it is that I was drinking and then do a little bit of a blend and call this video good. So in 6th place, glass number 2 was the sweet wheat. Okay, how thin this came across and how bland it was and how the flavors just kind of fell off a cliff, that makes sense. In 5th place, I have glass number 4, and glass number 4 was the single barrel. Okay, the single barrel, that's surprising to me. I thought the single barrel, is this a single barrel pick? Give me 1 second. Okay, so this is a caveat. The single barrel that I have, I thought I had just the normal 1792 single barrel, but this is a single barrel select from Total Wine. And typically, I don't think that this did really well in blind flights or blind tasting. So this might not necessarily be the best example of what a single barrel would be from them, because I don't think Total Wine really does all that great with their picks or something that's just sent to them from the distillery. So keep that in mind going forward. Maybe a single barrel and the single barrel roulette, maybe I just got a really not so good one. So that's where I'm at. All right, so the single barrel ended up being, what was this, glass number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Glass number 5 was, glass number 4 was the single barrel. Glass number 5, I ended up putting in 4th place, and I just read it, and this was the small batch. Nothing great, just a pretty basic, straightforward, easy sipping bourbon. Very good. In 3rd place, I ended up putting glass number 6, which was what I thought was the cognac. So this definitely came across as finished. There was a bitterness to it, wasn't all that great. So that's in 3rd place. In 2nd place, I ended up putting glass number 3, which was the full proof. The full proof, which I had an idea of that one was as well, because it just numbed everything in my mouth. And I think that's the reason why. I think the only one left is the bottled and bond. So the full proof did taste a lot like the bottled and bond, but that heat just masked a lot of the depth of flavor that glass number 1 had. So that's where I'm at with this First Friday Flight Fight. If you have blinded 1792 before, let me know which one came out on top for you. If you haven't blinded them, but you are a fan of 1792, let me know which one of their lineup do you like the most. Like I mentioned before, I never had an opportunity to get the 12-year. 12 years for me in my area are always on like a raffle, and I haven't won a raffle for the 12-year. So if you've had that and had it against anything else, is the 12-year something that I really should be looking to get? Be curious to hear from you. So that's where I am going to leave it. But I am going to do a quick little blend here and see how this goes. The cognac, I have very little. So just let me put it like a little drop or two of each of these in here and see how everything goes. Being very meticulous here. And a couple of people have made comments on some of the bottles that they had, and they said that they're like drain pours. Before, and I'm sure you people already know this, before you pour a bottle out, if you have multiple bottles that you don't like, try blending them first or putting them in cocktails, because you're paying money for these bottles and you shouldn't just dump them down the drain. Try to find some use for them. Cocktails, blends, or even gifts to people that come over. People might like it and say, take it. I don't like it. It's yours. All right, this comes across as very oaky. Stung the nose a little bit. I don't know if bitterness has a nose to it or a smell, but it does smell bitter, like a bitter oak. All right, let's go ahead and get it on the palate. All right, that's just not good at all. Borderline awful. Bitter, oaky, no sweetness, pretty high level spice. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that blend at all. That's probably something that you can mess around with. If you do have these, try that blend. Tell me how bad it is in the comments down below. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Wherever you were at in your journey, I hope you're enjoying it. Till the next time, talk to everybody later. Bye.